Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. In this lesson we will be taking a look at the position, scale and rotation options for each layer. We will also take a look at the opacity and the anchor point option. Now let's try and make a new composition. So drag this onto the new composition button, and now we want to look at some different properties that almost every layer has. I actually think every layer has these properties. So if you just press this drop down menu, and then you can go under transform, and here you get these 5 different options. You can change the anchor point, position, scale, rotation and opacity. They are pretty self-explanatory. The anchor point is the point where this is like the footage origin. This is where it rotates around. It's where it scales around. The anchor point is shown by this dot here in the middle. If you were to change these, you can just click and drag. Then you can see this point moves. So now it's not in the middle of the video. It's now moved to the left. Oh, sorry, to the right. Then the position, that changes where that changes the position of this video. And if I were to put the anchor point up in the bottom, up in the top right corner, and then change the position, then it would change the position from that point. It's a little bit easier to show with the rotation what the anchor point actually does. The shortcut to changing the anchor point is Y. So if we change that, then we'll go into change the anchor point mode. You can also press this button up here, and then you can just move this wherever you want. So this will change the anchor point. So if I were to put it up here in this part of the video, then press V to go to the pick tool, then I can change the rotation. As you can see, it rotates around the anchor point, and that is what the anchor point does. If I just undo so the anchor point is in the middle, then it will rotate around the middle. The scale is already also pretty self-explanatory. That changes the scale. If I were to go to the pan behind tool, as it's called, and then move the anchor point here to the side, and then change the scale again, then it will scale from the anchor point. So this should explain how the anchor point works. If I just undo, I'll get it back to the middle. And for most cases, having the anchor point is in the middle is just what you want. If you're just working with video, then having it in the middle is just fine, unless you want to rotate. If you want to do a rotation like this, where it rotates this way, then it's easier to have it in the in the corner. Because having the anchor point in the middle and then wanting to do a rotation like that will get very complicated and unnecessarily complicated. So this is just a quick intro to these 5 parameters. As you can see, we also have opacity, and that changes the transparency. So at 100% it's completely solid, and then if we just lower it, it will get transparent. And because our background is black, then it's fading out. Let's just try and duplicate this, Control D, and then maybe offset the layer on the bottom by just dragging. Then if we go into our top layer and change the opacity, then we will see that the layer beneath is shown through. So it looks pretty odd, but we're actually showing 2 pieces of footage at the same time. I'll just turn on and off the top layer, and here you can see that this transparent video is being added on top. We can also maybe delete the bottom layer and then create a solid. So new solid, make it maybe blue, and then put it beneath. And as you saw, it's just a small box. If we want it to be the whole composition, then we'll have to change the solid settings. And let's just say we want 1920 by 1080, which is the composition size. Then we can just change the opacity, and we will see this layer through. We change the scale. You can see it is pretty easy. So just some quick shortcuts to these parameters. If we have this all closed and you press A, you will see the anchor point. If you press A again, it will disappear. You press P to see the position, and then you press T to see the opacity. And it's not O because that does something else, but if you can remember it as T for transparency. Then there's scale, which has S as the shortcut, and then there's R for rotation. So that should be pretty easy to remember. So T changes the opacity back to 100%, and yeah, that's pretty simple. You can also use the transparency to change. So here we are back in our flowers and horses composition. We can change the opacity on the adjustment layer here to change how much it affects the layers beneath. So if we highlight it and say okay, T, then we can change the opacity, and as you can see, that changes how much it affects the video beneath. So we had brightness and contrast. If I turn the transparency down, then it's the same as hiding the video. So that's just that can give you some finer control. You can also scale it, and then you'll see just a small region where it affects the video.
Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.